Welcome to the AA Podcast, our little corner of the web where we are not afraid to discuss tough questions like,
when did nutrition, health, movement, and stress management become alternative medicine?
Where we embrace challenges in all aspects of life to become healthier and stronger versions of ourselves.
And where food and movement are the best kinds of medicine, and cooking meals at home is a revolutionary act. Welcome back to another episode of the AA Podcast with Ashley Olson
and Andrea Green.
We're once again excited to have you join us again for another week here on the AA, which is just crazy that we've been doing this for so long already. It feels like so long. I feel like it was just an idea, and now look at
Okay, the reason you feel like that is because you sat on this for like 3 years while I got through school.
My dream has finally been born.
I don't know how you sat on that for so long,
That's
but
all right.
I would have exploded.
I'm a patient person.
Yeah, you are.
All right. Before we get started, as always, we are going to share our Bible verse for the day, or for the week, sorry. And mine is in Galatians 6, verse 9, and it simply says, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up."
I love that one. Okay, so as many of you have probably found out, I try to make my verses topical based on what we're talking about. And this weekend, I found out that I had absolutely 0 hot peppers out in the garden with which to make salsa. So my verse today, as we're talking about meal prep, is Luke 14:28. "For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient peppers to finish it?" Luke 14:28.
Oh, man.
And that was KJV for the counteths and sitteths. So there you go.
They do like the censuses and the these and the thous.
I know. I know. Oh
yes.
All
good
right.
good old
And
King
the yays.
James. Oh yes,
Yay.
yes.
Yes.
Oh gosh. All right, Andrea. So today's topic kind of goes in line with what we were talking in our previous episodes about protein. And this is about meal prepping.
Yes.
This is a huge one for anyone who is looking to be successful with their nutrition, because if without a plan, you're based, what's the saying? Failure
to plan, you plan to fail.
And I always kind of thought it was a very kind of a cliche little saying, but it has rung true in many aspects of my life. And as much as I love to wing it on a lot of different things,
winging it.
Meal prepping is one that I can now get to a point where I can quickly throw something together. But honestly, my weeks go by so much better when I have this all put into place. And to be honest, we are both very similar. We have the exact same motto: keep it simple.
Yes, which she would not let me cheat off of her and put on my list. We prepped for this individually on the same document, and she went first, so she stole it. But yeah, we do keep it simple because honestly, you know, you can have these complicated, complex plans, and sometimes it's kind of fun to sit down and cook fancy and do all of that. But for day in and day out, it has to be simple because honestly, life will creep up on you and you have to just plan for the unexpected, which sounds kind of crazy, but unexpected things will happen. We know that they will happen. And so you've got to have your food ready if you want to stay on some kind of healthy eating plan.
Absolutely. And I guess the biggest thing that I have a problem with people when they first talk to me is like, "Oh, do you have any really good recipes?" And to be honest, I don't have a ton of great recipes. I have my handful here and there, but recipes can get so that's where you can get bogged down in the weeds because
Mhm.
you're like, "Oh, crap, I don't have this ingredient. Well, I'm not gonna go to the store until this weekend, so I guess I just can't make that." And so we get these road bumps, if you will, where we don't feel like that we can get over them
Mhm.
because we feel crippled by a ingredient that we didn't have for a recipe.
Right.
Whereas how I love to think of my meal prepping is simply as what is my protein source going to be? Where are my carbs going to come from? And what are my fat sources? So we're breaking it down into our micronutrients first. And then
Mhm.
from there, I like to think of it as okay, where are my whole food sources? So as you
Mhm.
both have gathered by now, both Andrea and I try to eat a very whole food source diet. We're not saying we're perfect. I will share with you some things that I eat that is definitely from a package, but we try to prioritize that first
Mhm.
and then let everything fall into place there. So how do you kind of think about your week, especially given that you have a family to feed?
Well, so yeah, I prioritize protein too, which I also stole off your list, because that's exactly what I do. Um, and the thing that my family, so for those of you feeding families, you're no doubt aware that not everybody has the same taste, and
Really?
I know, and it would be great if you could just tell a teenager that, well, you either eat this or you go to your room for the rest of the week. It just doesn't happen like that. So you got to make stuff that is going to be available. At my house, it's a little bit crazy with schedules because we've got four drivers now in this house and four different places to go. And so very often we don't get to meet around a meal table anymore. We still, we spend a lot of time together, but it's often not around meal times anymore. And so I still want to make sure that my kids and my husband have food that's ready to go so they're not reaching for crap.
Hmm.
Um, so protein is something that we can kind of all agree on. When I cook up a bunch of protein, everyone will eat it. Ashley and I are going to give examples of our go-tos. I'm gonna give some examples of those things that I don't go to, um, but about once a month
Mm.
because they're super, super nutrient dense. They're only for me. I'm the only one who will eat them. So there's certainly things in there that I will make for myself. And you know what? That's another point that I want to kind of bring home. So for anybody out
Mm.
there that is either living by themselves or living with just one other person who does not want to eat like you.
Mhm.
Um, I want to let you know that you are worth cooking for. So
Amen.
I don't know who needs to hear that, but just because you're a onesie or just because you're cooking for a onesie, that does not mean that you are not worth cooking and prepping food for.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So good. Yes, thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that up because
Mhm.
that is usually a big hiccup for I primarily work with women and they're like, "Well, my husband doesn't eat like that." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay.
Yeah. You are still worth eating this good nutrient dense food.
Yeah." Like that's his choice.
Right.
That doesn't have to be
Exactly.
your choice. So,
Exactly.
and more than often what I have seen too is when somebody does make the decision to eat a more food source diet, it slowly, not overnight, it slowly
Right.
starts trickling into the other individuals in the household. And they are typically well, they're like, "Oh, I'll try that," and then
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. Like, could I have some more?" And so,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so it might seem daunting and scary and frustrating at first, but I love what Andrea said. You are worth it, and just kind of just do what you need to do for yourself. And if
Right.
they want to purchase whatever they want,
Yeah.
then that's
Yeah.
fine too.
Yeah. And and more often than not, the way that it happens around here is that say that I cooked some protein that not everybody digs around here, but if they're starving and that's what's in the fridge and that's what's made and they have 10 minutes to put something on a plate before they're out the door again, they'll eat what's made.
Yep,
So,
it's
yeah,
true.
and I don't keep a lot of we do keep tortilla chips around
Mhm.
here. That is the giant Costco bags because whoo boy, those just get inhaled, and everybody loves them here, and so I do keep those, just for kind of snacky, salty.
Yes.
But other than that, I at least have family members who know about the importance of protein. Two boys trying to build muscle, and they know the importance of maximizing their testosterone right now, at their ages and building muscle. And so, we laid a lot of groundwork for that. But yeah, they'll if you eat it or if you make it, they will eat it eventually.
Very true. Um, all right. So I think so we kind of touched over like we prioritize protein
Mhm.
first.
Mhm.
That's literally what I think about when I'm thinking about what am I going to cook for this week.
Mhm.
So like for example, this week, I had some chicken thighs and I'm going to just say it right now and we talked about this prior to getting on here.
Mhm.
We both hate chicken breasts.
They are nasty. There will be no chicken breasts in heaven. I'll tell you that right now. That
Yeah, the
that is a earthbound food.
I just don't like
Nasty.
them. They're so dry,
Yeah.
flavorless, and I don't care how
Yeah.
doctored up you make
Oh,
them.
I know. Everybody's got the, "Oh, you haven't tried mine." Well, you know what? I bet I have.
Yeah, and I
There
will
yeah.
say chicken breast freshly cooked is way better than
Yeah.
leftover chicken breast, but it's still not my favorite. So, what I love to get is chicken thighs. They're slightly higher in fat, but not by
Mhm.
much, to be honest. And
Mhm.
every ounce of fat that it does have is well worth it because they are just so much more flavorful. Um, and I also like the size of them better too, just because I
Yeah.
can cook a lot of them, and then they pretty much if I take about 2 of them, that's usually between 4
Mhm.
and 5 ounces, and so it just makes it perfect, easy to grab and kind of estimate. Um,
Right. And for those of you keeping score at home, a chicken thigh, so a chicken breast, you could probably count on like 8 to 9 grams of protein per ounce. But a chicken thigh, we're probably looking at 5 to 6. So for Ashley's 4 ounces of chicken thigh, let's say 6 grams of protein per ounce. So that is a 24 gram protein meal. And I would think that it'd probably be closer to 6. Is that what you said? 6 ounces of meat
well, typically I'll
into
do like 4 to 6 ounces.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about 2 of them is
Yeah.
about 4 to 6
So
ounces.
somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 grams of
Mhm.
protein for 2 chicken thighs. And you're getting a dose of fat in there too, but the flavor is just so superior.
Absolutely. And I can definitely like yeah, I it's worth it for me.
Hmm.
And then so like this week I had chicken thighs that I had grilled on the Traeger, and um then I did some ground beef that I had cooked up that I needed to cook up. So those were my two main sources of protein. And then we typically on the weekends will do steak, but it's not a common occurrence every week. It just depends on on the day or the week. But those are kind of my three go-to. I used to also do ground turkey a lot. I haven't done that in a while. I have nothing against it. I just haven't bought it. And then sometimes I'll throw in some shrimp or salmon. Uh,
Ooh, that sounds really good.
yeah, so just kind of doing some variety with some fishies. So,
Hmm.
and then for my carbs, so we have a ton of basmati rice. I cook
Sorry.
basmati rice pretty much on a weekly basis. Uh Oh, I don't know if you heard that. That was my dog yawning. But I do a lot of that. Then black beans. I love my black beans. I know Andrew's not big on black beans or legumes, but
Are you
I
kidding
love
me?
them. No, and
I
they're
am the
it.
original maker of the black bean recipe, if you
I
will
know you
recall.
like him,
Okay.
but
Okay.
as far as like you're not
Mm.
in the one of your
Eh,
one of our episodes, you said you're not huge on them. So
well, people, there are okay, here's what I'll say. There are people that are not huge on beans because of phytins, lectins. There are some anti-nutrients that are in them that people get real fussy over. Um, but for myself, I am not an eating perfectionist, and I don't want to remove whole food sources of proteins and fiber in anybody's diet if I don't have to. So
okay,
sometimes I do have patients that I will recommend, no black beans for a while or no lentils or things like that. But yeah, as a rule, I'm a fan.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
we can remain friends.
Okay. I'm so glad.
Uh,
Oh,
and then as far as I honestly don't I don't I don't plan my fats
mm,
necessarily because I cook with extra virgin olive oil. I'll eat some avocados.
mm,
And there's just natural fats in my meats. So I don't necessarily have to plan around my fats. But what I do plan around is making some type of veggies. So lately I've been really into doing some Brussels sprouts, mushrooms,
mm.
and doing like a little saute of that. Not saute. Well, saute would that be like kind of in
Like
the
stir fry, kind of.
kind of a stir fry? Yeah,
Okay.
kind of doing a little charboil on it,
Yeah. Oh
even
yeah.
though it's not the healthiest, but it
Eh,
as far as the carcinogens go. But hey,
yeah.
life is too short not to have carcinogens.
Yeah. I know. You gotta have a few.
And then I'll do typically some raw veggies as well. So I like to get some spinach.
Mm.
And then, oh, like this week I also did some bell peppers.
Oh,
So
nice.
did a little bit of a like a veggie or sorry, fajita
Mhm.
mix. So um that's kind
Speaking
of
of, I have the lowdown on Chipotle veggies. Don't ask me
ooh.
how I know.
Okay.
Okay. So, if you like the peppers and onions at Chipotle, and who doesn't, they're cooked kind of crisp tender and they have amazing seasoning on them. And here is how you do it. Okay.
Do tell.
Get paper and a pen if anybody still does that. So green peppers and
Green.
red onions are I think the best, but
Me too.
use any onion that you have. And then slice them up into kind of the same size, like Chipotle does. So
Okay.
just slices, and then the secret, honestly, I think is cooking it. I have like an old Calphalon wok that is huge. And so I cook them in that. I think they would also be fine in a giant cast iron, but you get like a lot of surface area touching the heat in a wok. And
Okay.
so if you've got a wok, um, put some avocado or olive oil in there. Like what you're after is kind of a flavorless oil.
Okay.
And avocado works really well for that. And so then saute them, and the secret to the seasoning is oregano. Yeah,
Nice.
so
Now, is it
put
fresh or can it be from your spice drawer?
no, I have used dried. I've also used fresh, and to be honest, um, I think the dried holds up a little better in there because I usually have them in the fridge for many days at a time while people eat them throughout the week. And so, yeah, I think the dried holds up really well, but dried oregano, salt, and pepper.
All
And
right. That's
it's
so simple.
perfect. Yes, it is so simple. But yeah, you will recognize the taste immediately.
Love it. That is something that I love Mexican food. Mexican food to me is just
Mm,
so easy to meal prep. So a lot of
agreed.
a lot of the foods that we eat is definitely have has more of a Southwest flair to it. Um, so like I also keep a jar of green chili, like the
Mm,
505 green chili, and I'll use that to flavor a lot of my stuff. So I might eat some, or I might prepare some more quote unquote bland things, but I'll throw the 505 on there and
mhm.
it literally spices it up and makes it more flavorful. So those are some
Yeah.
easy ways that you can kind of sauces are a great way
Mhm,
to um, change up how your meal tastes.
mhm.
I love at Costco right now. I think that they're still doing it. They have a lot of the Primal Kitchen stuff,
Oh, yeah.
and I love their sauces. Their barbecue, not barbecue. Their buffalo is
Oh.
fantastic.
Ooh, I need to
And
look
then
for that.
yeah, it is so good. And then they have an I think it's an avocado something ranch dressing that it is also fantastic. And I have had that warm and cold. Like you
Mm.
could put it over a salad or you could put it as
Oh,
like a
yeah.
avocado cream
Mhm.
sauce on a taco or something.
Yeah, I frequently will use, like, a vinaigrette that I'll whip up really quick.
Mhm.
I frequently use that as just, like, a topper on whatever I'm eating, like sautéed veggies, ground meat, whatever it is. You can drizzle that on top for some good fats, and it adds tons of flavor.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so when so Ashley's told you a little bit about what she thinks about and some ideas that she has. I will expand on that. So I I focus on protein too, almost to the exclusion of everything else. So I will, when I meal prep, I do it for long periods of time. And so when Ashley and I were discussing this show, um, we have different ways. We may prepare the same kinds of foods from the same whole food sources. However, she makes meals for like a week at a time. And I will make meals for like a month at a time. So
Okay.
what I will do is, even though I hate it, chicken breast, those giant chicken breast packages from Costco that have like the six packets of chicken breasts in them. I will cook that entire thing, and then I will cook some hamburgers, and then I will cook some ground taco meat, and I will put pounds of those in portioned freezer bags. So when probably have I probably have 3 or 4 2 to 3 pound bags of taco meat that is cooked in the freezer. And
Okay.
this is just ground beef and taco seasoning. And I make it 6 to 10 pounds at a time. And then I put it away in giant Ziploc bags. And then my kids will get those out and just thaw them out and eat them. And then, we all kind of will eat that for a few days. And frequently, I will make a couple of different kinds of meat at a time. And so maybe we'll have chicken thighs or chicken breast, which we're plowing through right now, and I'm not happy about it, but it's there and it's fixed. So we'll have chicken breast and we'll have taco meat open at the same time because we go through so much meat in my house
Mhm.
that I cook for really long periods of time.
Okay.
And on the subject of chicken breast, one way that I can tolerate it is I think the more you cut it up, like the more you can get surface area covered by sauce or seasoning, the better off you are. So if you throw it in the instant pot, or throw it in the crock pot, I prefer crock pot if I've got time. And so I will just let them simmer with salsa on it, or
Mhm.
some other kind of ready-made sauce. Um, but I'll let it simmer, and then when it's fork tender, like you're able to shred it really easily, that, along with the acidic sauce, so usually like a tomato-based kind of sauce, that seems to break down the meat and keep it a little more tender and a little more palatable. Um, So, yeah, that or I will chop it into, like, if I grill it, um I can tolerate grilled. I will marinate it in something like Italian dressing or something simple
Mm,
like that.
yeah.
And then I will take that chicken breast, and you know how it's shaped kind of like a triangle? So
Mhm.
I will cut off the tip of the triangle like halfway down, and then you get that big fat part that now looks like an oval. I will cut that in half horizontally
Okay.
before I grill it. So it makes it more similar to the size of a chicken thigh, so it's better to apportion out, like when you're taking it to work, but also it cooks more evenly. So
Okay.
you don't have these, skinny little triangle pieces and these big fat end pieces of the breast that are like an inch and a half thick, and you're trying to cook them on the grill at the same time. So anyway, that's a little tip for cooking things if you're trying to do it quickly and you've got a whole grill full of chicken breast. That's a way that everything kind of gets done at the same time.
Okay. I like that tip.
Yeah.
Literally, tip.
Thank you. Cut it off.
Cut it
Cut
off.
it off.
Oh gosh. Okay. Uh and then so this is something that I want to explore, and Andrew was shocked when I said this, but
I was shocked.
you add what do you add liver to?
Okay, liver. Liver is the food of the gods, and I don't know how we have gotten away from it, um, to our detriment in our culture, but liver is like a desert island food. If anyone ever asks you, what food would you have with you on a desert island? If you find yourself in this position, pick liver. Pick liver. It's going to nourish you better than just about any food that there is. It's super high in B vitamins. It can make you feel really, really energized. It's high in vitamin A, which humans a lot of us find it difficult just kind of genetically. We have a hard time converting beta carotene into vitamin A. So you've all heard that carrots help you see in the dark, or carrots help your eyesight, right? Because they have all this vitamin A. No, they don't. Any orange, yellow veggies and fruits are going to have beta carotene in them. Now, theoretically, we would convert beta carotene into vitamin A, which is critical for immune function. And with all the autoimmunity that we've got, and with all of the colds and flus and illnesses that we have to combat all the time, our immune system really needs to be humming. And so we need vitamin A, and most of us are deficient. So, even if you eat a crap ton of carrots, um, often people are very poor converters of beta carotene into
Mm.
vitamin A. And so, it is bioavailable when you eat liver. You get the straight vitamin A, you don't have to convert it. It's just automatically available to your body. So, liver is incredible. Um, Tastes like trash,
Eh,
but it is incredible.
but how do you add it to
Okay.
yours so it doesn't?
So here's what I do, and this is how you can start. So for the liver noob, here's what you can do. I would take calf liver, which is going to be a lot more mild. Also, chicken livers are a
Okay.
much milder place to start. So you
Okay.
get chicken livers.
And I will
Um,
tell you right now, you can buy them extremely cheap
yes, you
at
can.
well, probably anywhere, but
Yeah.
so I use chicken liver for Raven's food, and you can buy them in the chicken area of Walmart for usually they have them on clearance.
It's because nobody wants them. I'm the
For
only
like
one who eats
literally
them.
$1.27 or
Yeah.
something ridiculous.
It's true. And if you wanna get if you want to get, super fancy with your liver, get well sourced, get it from, um, well-raised chickens, pastured chickens, turkeys, yeah, even conventionally raised liver, from chickens is gonna be better than no liver at all. It's gonna be
Okay.
way, way better. So, you take it and you ground it up in your food processor. Now, some people are saying, "Andrea, that sounds gross. I'm never gonna do it." Trust me, do it. It will clean up fine. Your food processor will never know that there was liver in there once you clean it. And it does, it just kind of, you blend it up into almost like this kind of pink frothy mess. And then it goes into I've got a big giant mixing bowl that I use, and I put ground beef in there. And so I usually do like a quarter pound of liver to a pound of ground meat. So that's a 4-to-1 ratio of ground meat to liver. So if you've got 4 pounds of ground meat, you put 1 pound of liver in there. Does that make sense?
That's a lot more than I thought you'd do.
Okay, now you don't have to start there. You don't have
Okay.
to start there. Your palate will kind of build up over time. Um, and to be honest, I've been eating liver for years. And I do it because it's so good for me. I don't eat it because I crave it. I don't eat it because it tastes amazing and like that's what I want to eat. I don't order it when I go out to eat. It's not something that I yeah, like, it would not be my last meal, if I knew what my last meal was. So, but that
How
said,
much liver do you need to be effective on a weekly basis?
well, that is kind of a mixed bag because right, it depends, just like every other question we answer. Um, it depends. It depends on what your physiological needs are. It
Okay.
also depends on the quality of the liver and how nutrient dense it is. So, but I would say, as a rule of thumb, if you can get 2 to 4 ounces of liver in a week, you're doing great.
Okay.
And all that is a quarter pound. That's a quarter pound of liver a week.
Okay.
So if you can
That's
do that, if you can do like a quarter to a half pound, even better, extra credit. But you'll also get, you guys, you'll also get iron. It's a
Mm,
highly bioavailable source of iron. It's called heme iron, and that's the iron that we get from animal products. And it is liver is lousy with iron. There's so much iron in there. And so for all you women walking around, most of us are mildly anemic, if not right on the line. And so, um, yeah, liver is fantastic for a source of iron.
okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Well, I am open to trying,
Okay,
Andrea.
so here's what you
And
do. You
okay.
put it in that giant bowl.
Okay.
You season the heck out of it. So I'm talking my four seasonings that I use for every ground meat that I make. I use onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper.
Okay.
And I use those no matter what. That is what I build from. So you can add all kinds of other stuff, but you want to start with onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. That goes on everything. Goes
Mhm.
on veggies, goes on meat. That is the basics. And then you just kind of mix it up with your hands in that mixing bowl. Put some gloves on. It's fine. And then I like to make meatballs out of it. Okay. You can also make burgers out of it, but I like meatballs just because they cook fast, they store so easily. You can freeze them. You can take like just three to work with you and know that you're getting your liver for the day or for the week. Um, so yeah, I love meatballs. In fact, there's a cookbook that I love. I think it's called Well Fed. Anyway, I'm gonna have to put that in the show notes, a link to that book because there's a volume 1 and 2. And I'm telling you, I don't often recommend cookbooks because there's so many of them out there that are fantastic that it's hard to pick. But this one is really, really good. Well Fed 1 and 2, totally worth having in your arsenal. But she's got a whole section in one of those books. It's called Burgers, Balls, and Bangers. And so she has like all of these spice blends that you can use, all of these meat blends that you can use. And it's just like a food prep dream.
Is it by Melissa Joel Wan?
Yes, that's her.
All right,
That's her.
perfect. I will definitely get that in the show notes.
Oh,
It
awesome.
actually looks like they have one that says uh for meals in 45 minutes or less. So
Ooh,
that could
yeah,
be a great one too.
yeah, she put these books out. I bet this was over 10 years ago. The Well-Fed 1 and Well-Fed
Yep.
2, and
Yep.
she probably has some new stuff out. I would trust absolutely anything by her.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll link those for you in the show notes.
Awesome.
Um anything else on like the liver or even
Um,
cooking
hmm,
methods?
just to go over a couple more cooking methods, um, I use crock pot
Mhm.
for kind of cheaper, larger cuts of meat just to break down the connective tissue and make it really tender. And then I usually end up shredding that. So whatever I put in the crock pot, I will shred. And then the shredded stuff goes in a bag and then it goes in the freezer. And one of my favorite things to make in the crock pot is I'll put like two tri tip roasts in there, which you get when they're on sale. People, be smart. Get them when they're on sale and then put two of them in the crock pot. And, just go find a recipe out there. There's lots and lots of tri-tip recipes with like orange juice and Mexican spices, and
Mm.
they are amazing as shredded meat, which makes great taco fillings. So I guess that's one thing that I wanted to say is I don't really make carb sources ahead of time. I often the carb source, if we have any carb source at all, it will be like little corn tortillas
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
I'll heat up and they will serve as taco shells for whatever kind of meat we're eating.
Yeah. We do a ton of tortillas. We buy the low carb tortillas, which I
Uh,
know aren't the best as far as
well,
the ingredients
they
goes,
have
but
gluten in them, so people
right.
who are gluten free can't eat those, but corn tortillas are totally fine.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. Um, and then just because I'm trying to get through my rice, that's why I've been cooking the rice. That's not always a staple, and sometimes too on a, when I'm just kind of feeling like it, I'll go grab like I love bonza pasta, and so I'll do
Mm,
like
mhm.
bonza, which is made out of chickpeas.
Yeah, that's good.
And I like to do the Rouse Alfredo. So kind of going back to just how we build things, we keep it very simple in keeping
Mhm.
it to the protein source, and our
Yeah,
protein sources are very versatile to what we want to eat. So we can
right.
because of how we season them, and I season mine very similar. I'll use minced garlic, or sorry, yeah, minced garlic, and then onion powder, salt,
Mhm.
pepper for mine. A lot of my stuff, but keeping it very simple in terms of the seasoning, because then
Mhm.
you can have a Mexican dish, an Italian dish, a American dish. Like
Right.
they're so across the board at that point that you're not so stuck in a rut. And that's why I like to, and I think you do too, keep it very simple so that
Mhm.
it's not you're not
Yeah.
stuck in some type of cuisine.
Yeah, and can I also just say that a couple of points I want to make. One, there's no such thing as a breakfast food. I
Yes.
eat meal prep food for breakfast every single day of my life. I eat
Hmm.
taco meat, I eat pot roast, I eat shredded beef, I eat m- meatballs made with liver. Like that's breakfast. There's no such thing as a breakfast food.
Yeah.
And when you look at traditional breakfast foods outside of like, I don't know, like an eggs or a bacon, everything else is trashy carbs. It's cereal, it's oatmeal, and I'm not going to diss oatmeal too hard because it has a place for some people. But a lot of like pastries and donuts and waffles and pancakes, French toast, uh, any kind of toast, all that's not great. So
Right.
starting the day with meal prep food is awesome. The other thing I want to say is don't get caught up on what goes together. Right? I
Yes.
feel like people really have this oh my goodness. There's a word and I'm not coming up with it right now, but it's like this perfectionism, like stuff has to go together. Like, oh,
Mhm.
you can't eat taco meat with green beans. or a salad, you got to have black beans or corn or something in keeping with the theme or whatever. There's no theme for dinner. I mean,
Mm,
that's great. If you want to cook your family a Mexican food dinner, that's fine. That's
yeah.
fantastic. But most of the time, like, you don't have to stick with the theme. There's no such thing as this food doesn't go with that food. If
Right.
you are getting your protein, if it's tasty to you, you made it, you know where it comes from, you know how it was cooked. Who cares what your veggies look like? You
Well,
eat what's in the garden, you eat what's in season at the store. All of those things we kind of get hung up on, or what our plate looks like, right? And our
yes.
plate doesn't need to be photo worthy.
My favorite thing, and I don't think I necessarily coined it, a friend of mine actually coined this term, but I had been doing it forever, is throw it in a bowl and make it work.
Yes. Yeah.
Literally.
Now I
Like,
don't like things touching each other. So
okay.
I will throw. It's unholy, Ashley.
It
Um,
is
uh,
not.
I think I think there are ancient Hebraic hedge laws against certain foods touching.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
Okay. Well, if you don't
yeah,
mind things touching, throw it in a bowl and make
throw
it
it in a
work.
bowl.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, just keep things simple. Don't I love what Andrew said. Stop going for this perfectionism of what the plate looks like
mhm.
because honestly, it all tastes great. It all goes down and
It does,
and digests the same. So yeah.
and it all ends up in the same water filtration plant.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Uh, anything else you want to add to
Oh,
this?
yes,
Oh,
the final thing I wanted to talk about with mine was greens. I am a huge, 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 huge greens fan. Eat more leaves.
oh yes.
And so I gosh, there is probably no more nutrient dense uh plant or plant variety that you could eat than leaves.
Mm,
So I'm talking all manner of leaves, kale, mustard greens, all the bitter greens, dandelion greens, like collards. All of those guys are so, so nutrient dense and so good for you. Um, so I will make up a big batch of greens. Now, these I will not freeze because they don't necessarily lend themselves to freezing. Some people can do it and tolerate the texture. I don't care for the texture after they've been frozen, and they're so easy and quick to make that I'll just make them on a weekend and then have them that week. But yeah, I will saute onions, garlic, and ginger if I've got it, but, if I don't worry about it. And then I will put, like, I don't know, like whole mustard seed in there, or you could put something hot like chili flakes in there, and then you saute that, and then you add just handfuls and handfuls of cleaned greens, and
mm,
they will cook down to almost nothing, like
yep.
spinach will, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Same thing, and so you saute those together until they've all cooked down, and then you just keep them in your fridge and they will keep fine for days at a time. This is the time where I will make a little bit of rice.
Okay.
So I will have just a tiny bit of rice with greens, tons of greens over the top of it. And I really like the way that that tastes, and then I'll have whatever protein, like taco meat, which
Yeah.
totally doesn't go with that, but I don't care.
I think it does.
Yeah, yeah,
I do not
okay.
discriminate. So
Yes, we can just
yeah.
turn this on its head. So,
Yeah. So keep things simple. Some other
mhm,
things that I like to keep on hand is yogurt. We talked
mhm.
about that in another episode. I typically have a couple eggs in the morning. Again,
Yep,
it's a breakfast food, but to me, they're just easy, especially for when
yeah,
I'm on the go. And then we also keep tortilla chips and salsa. That's kind of a staple in
mhm,
our household as well. So there's not necessarily a ton of flamboyant variety, but there's enough variety that keeps it interesting. And
right.
like we talked about in multiple episodes, we like food. Like
Mhm,
we're not eating bland things. We're eating very really good food, and
mhm.
you don't have to make it complicated. Stop looking for meal prep recipes. Just
Mhm.
go back to the basics of what's your protein going to be, and then go from there.
Right.
Because once you have your protein and you have some staples of for your vegetables, like it just becomes so much easier, and
Mhm.
way more thought doesn't have to go into your grocery list,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you're not constantly figuring out what you're going to have for dinner or lunch or breakfast, because it's just so simple.
Yeah. And now let me throw out one more thing here. I keep saying this is the last thing, but I think this is the last thing. For some people are really uncomfortable cooking meat
Mm,
because they're unfamiliar with it and they just haven't done a lot of meat cooking. And
okay.
so I think people are scared about bacterial infections. They're scared about food poisoning. And I understand that. And so sometimes the hesitation or the paralysis around cooking meat is, how do I know when it's done? How do I know that this is safe to eat? I would advise you to invest in a meat thermometer.
Yes.
Um, I have one that I absolutely love. I will find the name of it in my kitchen and I will put the link on the show notes there. But just get one that you can, it just has a pointy end on it. It's just a metal pointy end, and you stick it in there, and then it reads exactly what the temperature is, and you go on a website and find what the like chicken is supposed to be cooked to this many degrees,
Hmm.
rare, medium, medium well, well done beef are these temperature ranges. And so pork, it will tell you exactly what the temperatures are for different cuts of meat, and it will just become like second nature to you. Those I still use the thermometers, and I've been cooking meat for decades.
Yeah,
um,
we do too.
yeah, and I just think it makes it so easy. It just takes any of the guesswork out of it, and it can really get you over that paralysis if you don't have a lot of experience cooking meat.
100%. Well,
Yeah.
great job, Andrea.
Hey, you too.
If you have any questions about meal prepping, or what it could look like for you, don't hesitate to reach out to us. As always, you can email us at askAApodcasts@gmail.com. And if you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, please don't hesitate to hit that review button, 5 stars. And if you also enjoyed it and want to share it, that would mean the world to us as well. We've already had several of you share it on your stories, and that just is such the
Thank you
biggest
so much.
that is the biggest compliment to us. And
Mhm.
we want to provide information and episodes that are of value to you. So if you have some ideas for things that you'd
Absolutely.
like us to talk about, please submit those as well.
Hmm.
And we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye bye. The content provided in the AA podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The information and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not constitute medical advice.